training camp signing Lamar Stevens, who I got a chance to talk to both down in New York when he played well, grabbing 3 offensive rebounds against the Knicks late in that game, and at practice on Saturday, as well as conversation, deeper dive into his game with his trainer, Henry Wu Jr., who's a former Division III player, now training NBA players like James Ennis when he played, Stevens, believe he works with Mo Bamba as well. Kem Birch started his NBA training career. He's an Illinois native, originally from South Korea, and has worked closely with Lamar Stevens going back to his time with the Cavaliers. Now, I loved this signing. Big Stevens fan. His defense, legitimately one of the more impactful on ball and in pick and roll coverages in the league. I'm still surprised the Celtics got him on a minimum, never mind a training camp deal here. And I've long expected, and I think both Stevens and Wu feel that he's probably going to make this roster, especially now after the Drew Holiday trade cut down the roster by a spot, sending out 2 for 1. So we get into a little bit of that. Talk about Stevens' summer, going head-to-head with Kevin Durant, his expectations and conversations with the team so far, as well as what he worked on over the summer to come back better this year. Still a developing shooter, guy who's really struggled on that aspect, and a big reason he probably became available to Boston, those shooting struggles, though he is coming off a career year with the Cavaliers, who traded him to the Spurs in that Max Strus sign and trade. Spurs released him. He became ineligible to go back to Cleveland in that case, so he had to find a new team, and he had a couple options, but love the chance to win and replace guys like Grant Williams, Marcus Smart, and what they brought to the table in Boston. So here's a conversation with Lamar Stevens, followed by a conversation with his trainer, Henry Wu Jr. And this is a one-on-one edition of the Garland Report. We'll have coverage of Tuesday's preseason game against the Knicks, as well as another week of practice, week 3 of camp getting started. Thanks for following along with us here on CLNS Media. And here is Lamar Stevens.
Normally, I think in my past few years of playing in the league and having those summers, this is my first summer I really made an emphasis to play in those leagues, because, sometimes like when you're in a role or you're trying to work on something, you may not always get the reps that you want in the actual game. So, simulating those reps and, just getting opportunities and see different defenses and just compete at a high level, I think was really important to me, just to take my next step.
And what do they call it? The Philly one's called?
The Danny Rumpf Classic. Great tournament, probably the best one in the country.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I think so.
And which one was LA?
The Drew League.
Okay, so which one were you lined up against Kevin Durant in?
Oh, okay. So that was LA. Those are private runs.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are super private runs. They're hosted by Alex Basil. But yeah, I mean, those are just super private. I mean, Drake pulls up like Devin Booker was there, Michael Porter Jr., Trae Young. Jalen Green, the list goes on, Chet Holmgren, the list goes on.
Was that your first time you were able to be in that one?
Yeah, it was my first time. So I played in that twice in this 1 week stint that I did in LA. So
how'd you get into it?
Just having relationships with some of the trainers that run it. And just through that relationship, they invited me. They said I was able to play.
Did you get to meet Drake?
Nah, I didn't get to meet Drake. My brother did, which was cool. So, but yeah, it was cool.
What was that like for him?
It was surreal. It was surreal. Like, he came and sat right behind him, so it's just like, it's just a cool moment.
So what was that environment like for you? Obviously, you got to defend Durant. I know Henry said you held him to a couple misses in a row.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of benefit does that do for you? And even just being in that environment where you have such like big stars watching you, and it's just kind of that environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's just like playing in a big game in LA or Miami. It's the same type of vibe. So just getting the chance to compete against a high-level talent, something I you just don't take for granted. You just, you want to put your best foot forward and learn what you can and just be a sponge in those opportunities while competing. But yeah, it was a cool opportunity.
What makes you I know every guy is different, but when you're going up against the Durants of the world, the Giannis's, the highest level guys, what's kind of the key to slowing them down? Because you're not going to stop them every time, but for you,
I would say just it's different for both of them.
Yeah.
But for Durant in particular, I think just not allowing him to just get easy catches where he wants, and also just making him just take tough shots that you're kind of anticipating. With a really good contest. Sometimes that's not even enough. He's that good, but I think it starts with the catch and just not letting him get an easy catch, and then off of that, just making him shoot tough, anticipated shots with a really good contest, or you being really physical on him. So it's like he doesn't have the same balance that he would for a regular shot.
And for Giannis?
With Giannis, I think it's about kind of like cat and mouse him. Not pressing up because you kind of want him to shoot, but not letting him feel super comfortable to drive straight downhill. And also just you have to be physical enough to withstand his strength and his speed. So I think that's something that I've been able to do with my body, that I can take those bumps and still be able to recover and make it a contested shot. But yeah, you can't let him get too close to the rim. And just staying with him physically and taking those bumps and being able to stay with him.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.
And so in camp so far, I know Henry talked a little bit about the screening game that you've been in here so far, getting adjusted to how this team screens. How would you describe it? Is it different than what you're used to? Is it something you have to learn, just where to set screens, how to set them, that whole thing?
Yeah, this is a lot of it is very new.
Yeah.
A lot of it is very new. And just getting here a couple of days before training camp, it's definitely been a lot to just learn, because everything done here is at a super detailed and high level attention. So the coaches have been great with film and slowing things down and helping me through it. But yeah, it's definitely new for me.
And have you ever played the 5? Henry said that to me too, that we might see you at the 5 a little bit. I know there's not really positions like they used to be, but is that something you've ever done before?
I think I played the 5 a little bit with the Cavs, but for the most part, no, not really. I mean, I started a lot of games my second year at the 2.
Yeah.
Started a lot of games last year at the 3, a few at the 4. I've had very few spot minutes at the 5.
Could you see yourself doing that a little bit here?
For sure. I mean, I think that, with my versatility, I can play, 2 through 5 for a good stance. So, it's just, I definitely think that I can step into that role.
And what's it been like building a relationship with Joe so far? Henry said you guys are kind of cut from the same cloth, just in terms of your personalities. And what's it been like getting to know him and learning what he expects from you?
Yeah, I mean, just from not even conversations, just viewing him in practice and how he goes after guys and just tries to pull the best out of him. He's a fierce competitor, and he's going to scratch and claw and do what's needed to be done, do the dirty work that's needed to be done to secure a win. I think I'm the same way. I'm okay with dabbling on the floor. I'm okay with taking charges or just going for offensive rebounds and making an extra sprint to get a block or whatever. So I think we're definitely made up from the same toughness mindset of doing whatever it takes to get wins.
And Henry mentioned the Junkyard Dog chain too last year in Cleveland. Do you remember how many of those you won?
No, I don't remember, but I probably won first or second most.
First or second most on the team. How did that start?
It started after my rookie year. Being the guys, we were underdogs for the whole year, so I would start barking on the sideline, and it kind of just been a thing that we would do. We would get win after win after win at the beginning of the season, and we would all just come on the court barking at each other, like saying like we're dogs, like, and just embracing that underdog role. And from there, the front office bought into that, and it went widespread really through the entire organization. I know that the marketing department had their own chain for success that they had during the week or something like that. So it was really cool. It was really cool to be a part of. It's something that was cool for me to have a little imprint on. But yeah, it was that's how it started, and that's where it is.
Everything's good, man. I'm out here in Philly, about to head to the game here in a couple hours, so I'm excited to see another preseason game and see Lamar play and kind of grow on what he's been doing. So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about yourself. I obviously kind of looked into your background a little bit and some of your experience, but just kind of how you got into training. I know you played college basketball and did some coaching after that. What was kind of your journey to training?
Yeah, I have a pretty crazy story. So I was playing in college at the time at a Division III school, Concordia, Chicago, and then one of my close friends, Eric Green, played at Virginia Tech, was playing overseas at the time in Greece, and so he invited me out just to go hang out with them. When players play overseas, most of the American players kind of hang out together. So one of his teammates at the time was Kem Birch. So when we were all out in Greece, me, Kem, and Eric got all really close. And the next season, I went back to college again. And Kem ended up playing for the Magic. And so during that year, Kem didn't really play much that year with the Magic, but he was in the G League a lot. And I was just kind of sending him film as like a favor, just to do it, and just kind of like, hey, like this small thing, you should maybe do this or look at this. And after the season, he kind of asked what I thought about training, and I was like, I don't do training. That's not something I've ever done. Like, I'm 21 years old. I'm a sophomore in college. Like, I've never trained, especially professional players ever. I've trained maybe middle school players. I was working at a YMCA. Like, I had no experience doing it at a high level. And, he just really persisted that I try it and see if I was good at it. And, and I give Kem a ton of credit because he gave me, a bunch of trust and allowed me to kind of have a platform to grow and end up working out really well. I ended up getting pretty good at training, and kind of as Kem's career took off, I was able to kind of add some more clients along the way. Grant Riller, James Ennis III, like my next kind of crop of clients, and James and Grant ended up having the same agent as Lamar, and Grant and Lamar kind of came out in that same. They were in the same draft class, so I was kind of connected through Grant to Lamar, and ended up working out well. This is me and Lamar's second year together, and it's been a hell of a journey, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, and what was it like meeting Lamar for the first time and just getting to know his game a little bit and coming out of Penn State at the time? I remember, his career there a little bit, just where he was at with his game when you met him for the first time.
So it's funny, so his rookie year, I remember watching him, and I remember his agent at the time was like, what do you think about training him? And I was like, I don't know if Lamar's going to make it, that's the funny part. I wasn't a big believer in kind of what I saw in college as far as it translating to the NBA. Like, he was heavy in the post and kind of played almost like a Charles Barkley type of player, just, and it was very mid-post and in. Like, he would shoot a three here and there, but his shot mechanics really didn't look great, and he wasn't like a elite level defender at Penn State. So I just kind of was like hard for me to see how that would translate to the NBA. And I remember watching, I was at Lamar's first ever game. It's funny, he got in. He was playing the Magic, and he was guarding Terrence Ross at the time. And I was, I saw him guard Terrence Ross kind of, I've watched Terrence Ross last couple of years dealing with Kem, and Terrence Ross, one of those guys at the time with the Magic, was one of the most prolific bench scorers in the NBA. And I saw Lamar kind of just take him out the entire game. I ended up just keeping tabs on him the whole year. Shot really didn't come along that year. I think he shot 16% from three, like 4-25. The mechanics weren't there, but I saw, promise as far as him being a 3-and-D type wing, a slasher cutter. And then I was like, if this guy, because the Cavs kind of really changed his whole game, turning from like that kind of like scoring low post, mid post wing to like a really like a defending wing. And so I was like, if this guy learns how to shoot in any capacity, there's a real chance he could be an NBA player. So I reached out to him kind of that summer after his rookie year, and I remember we got in the gym that very first day, and Lamar is a hell of a person. Like, that's probably my favorite part about the guy. He's the most amazing, humble person you ever meet. I remember sitting in the gym with him that day. His shot, he just couldn't shoot. You know, we were in there for 2-3 hours trying to make a couple hundred shots. You know, it was a long day of rebounding. But I'll give him a ton of credit, and he's came such a long way with the jump shot. You know, I'm super proud of him, and just kind of see where he's grown. Because I tell him that all the time. Like, he even made me a believer. You know, like, his game has totally transformed since Penn State. And I give him a ton of credit to go from an undrafted guy that wasn't on any mock drafts, and kind of no one kind of viewed him as an NBA player, to, you know, him going into his 4th year now as a guy that can really help a championship level team. So,
with the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Too busy this fall to cook? Want to make sure you're eating well? With Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. So all you have to do is heat and enjoy, then get back to crushing your goals. Looking for calorie-conscious options during the busy season? Try the delicious dietitian-approved Calorie Smart meals with around less than 550 calories per serving. This September, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/newsfeed50 and use code newsfeed50 to get 50% off. That's code newsfeed50 at factormeals.com/newsfeed50 to get 50% off.
Yeah, what do you think was the key to him making you a believer, and you know, just him making it in the league despite the doubts you had?
I think the first one that came to mind was the defense. You know, the defense was definitely kind of where it all started. You know, he to me, and I try not to be biased, but not even just based on numbers or even just analytics, kind of just on the eye test. I've seen Lamar guard the best players in the world at an extremely high level, all different types. You know, from the Giannis's to Kevin Durant to Luka Doncic. Like, he has guarded these guys the best he possibly can at an extremely high level. I remember this summer we actually had one of those pickup runs with Kevin Durant, and I watched him. You know, again, you're not stopping Kevin Durant, but he made it as hard as he possibly. Kevin Durant missed 4 or 5 times straight. You know, and Lamar was guarding him the best he possibly could. You know, so I've seen this guy Lamar, and that's kind of what really stood out to me, was like his ability to really pick guys out of an NBA game. Like, he has to work on sometimes not fouling too much because he's so physical, but he just makes it extremely hard on guys, especially the best players in the world, to play well, you know. And I think guys like that, you know, there's not many of them around the NBA. Like, to me, the top 10 on-ball defender in the NBA, he has some work to do off the ball. You know, sometimes he kind of can lose sight of his guy and things like that. But as far as like just guarding the ball one-on-one in isolation and navigating pick and rolls, and there's I can't name 10 to 15 guys in the NBA. Just, we're talking about even in the level of Kawhi Leonard, like, that are better than Lamar. You know, that kind of stood out to me the most. And then from a offensive side, like, Lamar is the hardest working guy, you know, in my clientele list, you know, and I've had some really hard working guys at this stage. You know, we're literally in the gym last night, you know, down here in Philly, working on his jump shot. Like, and I think that's kind of why he's made the improvement with the 3-point shooting. You know, I think this guy, he works tirelessly. You know, he puts in hours and hours and hours, and he's such a precise worker, and he came a long way with his mechanics, his form, and you know, he's really improved. And then one thing about him, he never gets comfortable. You know, he's one of those guys that always wants to continue to stay in the gym, and he has real love for the game. And I think stuff like that is underrated sometimes with guys. You know, guys who really crave improvement and guys who really want to get better. Those are the guys who end up getting better for the most part. So that was a big part too, just working with him that whole first year and second year in the league with Cleveland. Like, we were in the gym, especially when he wasn't playing, you know, every night. Man, I just saw the improvement and the amount of hours and time he's put into to really, especially with his 3-point shooting, just improve his shooting. And, you know, I think that just made me want to, you know, work harder for him, you know, like just seeing how much time and energy and effort, you know, he's put into his jump shot and just his overall game as a whole. It's man, if you, to me, just from the eye, it's evolved so much and he's grown so much. And the crazy part about it is he's just kind of scratching the surface of kind of who he can be as a player. You know, some guys at 26, 26 years old, you're kind of like, that's kind of who he is. And I think just because of his untapped potential and him kind of changing his entire game from college to the NBA, the sky's the limit for him.
How do you go? I've talked to so many people about how you go about tinkering with a jump shot release and him and getting better with the 3-point shot there. What was your process of trying to help him improve in that area?
Yeah, no, so the first thing we did was we sat down and we watched all 25 of those threes his rookie year, and we kind of showed that I think the biggest thing, what he was doing with his form was consistent. I'm a big believer not trying to change too much. He had a good foundation, really good mid-range shooter, something he's even, continued to do now in the NBA, like really high level from the 15 feet and out. So the form really didn't necessarily, as far as the shooting form, didn't need changes, but they were just small mechanics. Watch him now, like his rookie year, like he really uses guide hand too much. To kind of push his shot, and he never held his follow through. And I think for guys who can't shoot, you have to really give them some foundational habits that they can do every time, so they know, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So we really we just focused on him just holding his follow through, really getting his guide hand out of his shot, changing his shot pocket to where it's kind of coming straight up and down, and not really across his face. And he's worked tirelessly at it, and it's been great. I give him a ton of credit, and he really went from someone who, I remember, like he just said, I was uncomfortable shooting threes. Mine was so far, and he just, that adjustment for him was so difficult, to now to where it's like I was even the other day, like I know he was 1 of 5, but I know it's 20%. He makes one more, he's 40%. So I give him credit for even shooting 5 even in a preseason game. I don't think he's ever shot 5 in any game in his career, to be honest, in the NBA. So, him just being willing to shoot even after missing 1 or missing 2, and just having the confidence to keep stepping in and shoot them. So, it wasn't too much as far as like changing the form. A lot of, I know he said the day you guys kind of interviewed him, just reps. Reps was a big thing for him, and just, we made some small, minor adjustments to his form and things like that. But a lot of it's just reps, and honestly just building confidence in him and himself, that he feels comfortable just, every time he's open, he's letting fly. And a lot of times, like the crazy thing about shooting is like if you shoot 38% and you're missing 62% of your threes, you're a high level 3-point shooter. So kind of making sure he understands like missing threes is going to be a part of the process too. You're not going to make every one, and it's okay to miss. The biggest thing is always stepping into the next one with confidence, and some of it was just mental for him. Just he'd never been a guy that could shoot threes. So just kind of getting him to feel comfortable with that on his own, which really has nothing to do with form or habit or anything. It's just mentality. He's really grown into that, and I think I think he's gonna have another good year shooting this year. I expect him to be anywhere from 35 and up. I think he's gonna make another leap. But I think he's definitely gonna be better than what he was last year, like almost 32%. I think he's gonna be higher. He had a great summer, shot the ball extremely well, shot the ball well in the pro-am games he's played, and the form looks really good. We broke down the film from the Knicks game. Like none of them when I was 1 of 5, but the form was good. They look confident, and he's stepping right into them. It's not like his misses are all over the place and they're missing all bad and airballing. They're right there. So give him credit for shooting them. And then, like I said, he's a worker. So went back to the gym last night. They had someone had an off day. Went back to the gym last night and just continued to work on it. So he's gonna definitely continue to grow in that area.
How many does he usually put up in a session, 3-pointers?
Well, in the summer, we'll work out twice a day, so he'll maybe make 500 in the summer a day. And go 5 days a week. He's making 2,500 shots a week, maybe more. And then like yesterday, we probably made 100, 150, like at the light. We wanted to make sure we're not killing his body. It was only never going to be 30 minutes, but a lot of it was just making sure his form was precise and just really locking into his habits the way to just come out today and again just shoot him with confidence. There really isn't going to be much as far mechanical changes now. It's just going to be him just shooting with volume and shooting with confidence and trusting the work he's put in. So it could be anywhere in the summertime though. Definitely could be anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 made shots a week. Sometimes even goes in 6 days a week and doesn't take the weekends off. So this guy is a tireless worker, and he wants to get better at it. And he understands. And one thing about Lamar too, he's very smart. he understands like that's what's going to keep him off the floor. He like what he brings from an intensity and defense and hustle aspect is what makes him an NBA player. And but I think he understands that shooting is the skill that's going to keep him on the floor. Especially with making the rotation this year and kind of how important that is to him and what he wants to bring to the Celtics. He understands he only can do that, if he's spacing the floor and just being a threat. It's not about being a 40+% 3-point shooter. It's just if you're wide open and Tatum or one of those guys in double team and they kick it to you, you got to be able to at least just be a threat out there to just make one a game, or even just give the idea that you can make one so then you can attack a closeout, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I give him a ton of credit.
Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter Odds Are. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too, especially since Celtics All Access listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/Celtics. That's oddsr.com/Celtics.
So what ended up leading him to the Celtics? I know he signed pretty late in the offseason with them, and it's the training camp deal there. What made him feel like that was a good destination for him, good fit for him, even though nothing's guaranteed with this roster?
Well, yeah, I think definitely that workout he came into in I think it was early September, really helped out with he got the opportunity to sit down with Brad and they kind of talked about it with you guys, but just sitting down with Brad and just kind of hearing Brad's vision for him and kind of what they envisioned, his role would be, kind of that guy that comes in and kind of fills that Marcus Smart, Grant Williams type of role. And, so he felt really comfortable with, I think, his relationship with Brad. Like he was there for 4 days and every day got an opportunity to sit down and talk with Brad and Brad kind of talk with him, kind of make sure like he would be a good fit for them. So I think that was the biggest thing. I think, the contract really was just more so kind of at the time, before they made all these moves, the Celtics wanted to, provide flexibility for themselves, so it was hard to give Lamar any like guaranteed money or give him anything like that because they wanted to make sure they have flexibility for any type of trade. We had no idea that the Drew Holiday trade was going to happen when we agreed to the deal. So, that he just, the Celtics want to have their flexibility and Lamar understands that. And, he's always one of the type of guys that's really not about the contract and more about the opportunity. He felt with the Celtics kind of needing that defensive type of wing and defensive depth, and kind of with the rest of the options he had, like Boston was the one that showed the most interest as well. And then they kept a ton of tabs on him. And, I think Lamar only fits best as well with a winning team. He wouldn't look too good with a team that's not trying to win. And I think what he brings sometimes doesn't show up in a box score. You can kind of get caught up in a guy scoring 4 points. And you're like, oh, man, he didn't play well. He had 4 points. But you kind of forget all the other things he does that don't show up in the box. And that's kind of who Lamar Stevens is as a player. He just does a ton of things that impact winning, at a high level. And I think those things sometimes go unnoticed when you're not on a winning team, because your stats don't pop out like they would on a losing team. So I think that really was appealing to him as well, just being a part of a winning culture, a winning program. He came from that in Cleveland, kind of helped. People don't even know, like he really, they kind of have a thing there with their chain, like a junkyard dog chain, and he was the whole reason why that even started. He's the epitome of winning, and that's all he cares about. He doesn't care less about stats. I have to kind of hammer him on, like, hey, like, you still got to score points, but he doesn't, that's just to his core. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He just wants to be a guy that impacts winning. He wants to help, a team win. That's all he cares about. And guys like that are invaluable to franchises that are trying to win championships like the Celtics. So, he just felt like that was the best place for him, and I couldn't agree more.
You're feeling pretty good about him making this roster. He's feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not his agent, and I don't really know the whole, thing with him and Brad, but I think that the way kind of just from the outside looking at the roster structure, they have to carry 14 into the regular season. So I think the Robert Williams trade kind of solidified that spot for him because, they kind of lost a roster spot that had to get filled. So they have to start the season with 14. And I think the way kind of the preseason has gone the last couple games and kind of how Joe has kind of used them is that he's definitely one of the top 14 players. And so even if they want to keep flexibility with that 15th spot, I don't think he would be in that conversation of a guy getting waived to the 15th spot.
Yeah.
So no, I would be very, very surprised if he gets waived. I definitely think he's going to not only make the team, but I think, throughout the course of the season, play a big part whenever he's given the opportunity. I think he's a guy the Celtics, in my opinion, definitely are gonna need and are gonna, especially on nights that maybe Al doesn't play on back-to-backs, or maybe guys need rest or injuries happen. It's a long season, guys get hurt, and I think guys like Lamar are so valuable, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw, down the line here when they kind of get to the playoffs and being a critical part of that, eight-man rotation kind of Joe likes to play in the playoffs. So it's a long season. It's hard to fully predict what's going to go on, but I think Lamar's skill set, especially if the shooting kind of comes around, I think his versatility kind of Joe used him as well. Like he can kind of play the 3, 4, and 5. And I don't think there's anyone else kind of in that wing, in those wing spots, whether it's Fee or Shea or O'Shea or Delano or Sam, who can kind of play and guard multiple positions. To me, it's about, can you play multiple positions, and then can you guard those multiple positions? And I think that's kind of what separates Lamar from the rest of the pack. And I think, even, as the season goes on, he's going to continue to prove that to Joe and hopefully, gain Joe's trust to kind of, play him consistently night in and out.
Yeah, you mentioned the chain too in Cleveland. Is that something they gave out like after every game? I kind of vaguely remember that.
Yeah, so they kind of give out a chain after every win. So every win they have, they kind of give out like a chain to whoever kind of impacted winning the most that night. Whoever was like the junkyard dog of the day. It didn't necessarily have to be the guy that scored the most points, but kind of the guy who impacted winning. And that kind of all started from Lamar, and he kind of started that whole thing with just a guy he would always like bark on the sideline, and I think the Cavs kind of embodied who Lamar Stevens was. And I think that's kind of how they improved so quickly. Doesn't sometimes show up in the box score, but I think Lamar he was a leader. It's crazy. He was a third-year guy last year, and if you listen to any kind of interviews about who he was, like every player and every coach kind of labeled Lamar as a locker room leader as well. And I think that kind of goes a long way with the team trying to win. So I think that was great. It was great as well.
Yeah, and last one I got for you, it's been kind of like seeing him, around the team and just, the 2 games so far and overall kind of your impressions of him fitting in and even, just kind of things you've heard out of practice of, just him acclimating to these guys and, showing what he's capable of so far.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an adjustment, just from my eyes, definitely been an adjustment for him. He's having to kind of learn a whole new system, and he got there only a week before training camp. So he's trying to learn a whole entire system and language and kind of everything in a short amount of time. But I think so far in the 2 preseason games, he's played okay. I think offensively, he has some things he's still trying to figure out as far as his role. It's so much different than it is in Cleveland because he's playing so many different spots on the floor. He wasn't used as much as of a tech, like for example, as a screener, in Cleveland. He's kind of setting a bunch of ball screens now. But overall, I think he's fitting great. I think, just kind of, it's funny, I listen to what you guys say after every game. I think you guys are told you, I think he's going to look so much better playing with, better talent. I think it's going to kind of make kind of what he does, kind of pop. Kind of hard to say because he really hasn't really got any minutes with those guys yet. So it's kind of really hard to say what his role would look like. But as far as him just fitting in and just being a part of kind of what the Celtics are looking for, like I think he's doing his role at an extremely high level. He's defending 3, 4, and 5. He allows the Celtics when he's on the floor to be switchable, especially when he does play that center position to be switchable. He can guard multiple positions. And I think offensively, I think he's kind of shown me, at least for me, like he's being able to play off the dribble a lot more than he did in Cleveland. Like in Cleveland, he's more of a cutter, which I think he's still going to continue to do, and more of a spot-up guy. And I think, so far in the 2 preseason games I saw, he's kind of played off the dribble, especially in New York, he's played off the dribble a ton. He's able to kind of showcase an improved handle, which I don't think he'll ever use, but I think it's just good to see. And again, he's getting a ton of open shots, and I think he's going to continue to shoot them and knock them down. And I think the great part about this is preseason, so whether he makes or misses them, it kind of doesn't matter. I think it's just him just kind of understanding where those shots are going to come from and his comfortability in the offense and kind of figuring out what, where he's going to be so he can kind of just make sure he's working on that stuff in practice, when he's working with me, when he's working on his own, with the coaching staff. And I think so far I'm super happy with with what I've seen. I definitely think there's obviously room for improvement, especially offensively. I think he would have made a three and kind of shot the ball a little better last game, could have close to 15 or 20 points. Which is kind of something we've been kind of harping on, which is him overall improving his offense. But overall, he loves Joe. He thinks him and Joe have a very similar personality. Guys who care about winning, guys who are all about the team. You kind of hear what Joe wants from players, like Lamar: toughness. People who are competitive, people who are about the team and about winning. And I think that literally those words kind of Joe says embodies Lamar. And I think Lamar Joe's obviously gave that same sentiment to the team in practices, and Lamar and really likes Joe, and I think Joe's gonna really enjoy coaching Lamar, and I think he's gonna be a big part of I think Lamar's gonna be a big part of what the Celtics do, both on and off the floor. He's all about the team, and you can't have enough of those guys, especially when you're trying to win games. We're just about the team, so I'm super excited, and I think he's gonna fit great.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, it'd be good. You see all those second unit guys playing out there last game, and it's like none of these guys play together, and it's just kind of a little bit of a mess. But
it's a mess.
I do,
for sure.
I do think it'll be good to see him with some of the regular guys and see what that looks like. But I appreciate the time, great insight,
sure.
and I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm sure you'll be up here Tuesday for the game, right?
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. I've been trying to come to all the games just to kind of it's so much different when you're watching in person to kind of get an evaluation of kind of how Lamar's doing versus kind of watching back on video. It's kind of like It's crazy on video. He actually always looks better than what he does in person. I'm like, man, this wasn't. I thought in the Knicks game, like in person, I was there. I was like, he's not playing the best. And you kind of watch it back, and it's like he actually didn't play bad. It's kind of just he just didn't maybe make a couple shots that I thought he should have hit, or maybe should have did a move maybe differently than what he did. But as far as like his overall floor game and kind of what he brought, it's played well. So so I like going to the game to kind of get those different perspectives. And I think more importantly, it's just good to be there and kind of see all of his hard work kind of come to fruition. He puts, like I told you before, he puts in so much time. So it's just kind of rewarding to go to the game and just see him just go out there and perform at a high level.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll see you up here on Tuesday. Again, appreciate the time, and
absolutely.
Good luck. Thanks to Lamar Stevens for taking the time this week. Henry Wu for a great interview. Love talking to him, getting to know him a little bit on the phone. He'll be around the team a lot this year if Stevens ends up making it. We should know that within the next week or two here ahead of opening night. And of course, subscribe to CLNS Media, Celtics All Access for more coverage of Celtics camp as the roster and rotations continue to develop. We had a hit on Jeff Van Gundy join the team here. You can check that out. Celtics All Access from practice today. And until next time, this has been the Garden Report one-on-one edition. I'm Bobby Manning. Thanks for continuing to support the coverage here as we begin the 2023-24 season. Look out for more of these interviews. Going to be coming all season long, along with some other new aspects of our coverage here. Thanks again, and talk to you soon.